It's the all-wheel drive event at Lithia Ford of Boise. From hunting trips to ski trips to trips to Grandma's house. Nobody does AWD like LFB, Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
Eat Lux your way with the Lux Cravings boxes from Taco Bell. There's the classic $5 box, the indulgent $7 box, and a whole new obsession in the $9 box, the flaming hot grilled cheese burrito. Try the Lux Cravings boxes at Taco Bell today.
Find your sun with Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka. Cold, refreshing, and made for moments like these all year long. Let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser.
As sports fans, we may cheer for different teams, but there's one thing that we can all agree on. We want the game to be big. And with 3 levels, 30 cabanas, a 143-foot screen, 6 clean pools, and endless cold drinks, it doesn't get any bigger or any better than Stadium Swim in Las Vegas. All sports, all seasons. It's more than a pool deck. Stadium Swim. It's the only thing like it in the world.
The final buzzer is sounded on another night of Mountain West basketball, and it's time to break down the action with Tom Moser on another night in the Mountain West, presented by Circus Sports. Headed to Las Vegas for the Mountain West tournament in March? Make sure to stay at Circa Las Vegas and watch all the action at Stadium Swim, where the sports are on 365 days a year. Another night in the Mountain West has interviews, analysis, opinions after the final Mountain West basketball game of the day wraps up. All BNN broadcasts come from the Sun Cruiser Studios. Sunny days call for Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea, made with real iced tea and real vodka. It's refreshingly smooth and easy to drink. Crack open a Sun Cruiser and let the good times cruise. The title sponsor of Bronco Nation News is Lithia Ford of Boise. Check out our full inventory of vehicles online at lithiafordboise.com. Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho. Did your team just get a big win? Suffer a bad loss? Come discuss it with us. Send us a comment or question in the ICCU YouTube chat, or leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/BNN. Now let's go to the Sun Cruiser Studios and join Tom Moser for another night in the Mountain West on Bronco Nation News.
What's up, everybody? You are in the Sun Cruiser Studio Wednesday night, January 28th. Another night in the Mountain West. Ho-hum night for once. I probably jinxed it last night by saying that we never get those. And we got one tonight. 2-game card. Neither game very competitive for much more than 20 minutes at most, if we're being honest. But look, still plenty to talk about. Thank you all for being here now or later, watching live or on replay. We'll take it all, right? Sun Cruiser Studio, as always, along with us. I got the same one. I keep this one up here. I figured instead of transporting them up and down and then drinking them, I just keep this one up here, and then I drink the ones that I have downstairs. It took me a while to figure that out. Anyway, at the bottom, at Mountain West, BNN, and BJ has the comment in there that, I do get money for every certain amount of subscribers we get. So make BJ go broke. But subscribe at Mountain West BNN. We get subscriptions every night. Like to have more, right? First-time viewer, spread the word, get it out there, get this thing spread. It's been doing pretty well, I think. We're in the heart of the season right now. Huge games coming up. Pretty much every section now to Friday, Saturday. We'll have more next week as well. And so we're really starting to see teams and what their identity is, what their goals are moving forward, what's realistic for them, and on the other end, what's not for some, okay? But let's keep this thing blowing up here, and the way we do that is by subscribing, getting it into more people's feeds and algorithms and all that stuff. So subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. Just click the subscribe button on there and help us all out. So, again, look, 2 games tonight and 2 blowouts. 73-50. The final just ended a few minutes ago in Viejas between the Aztecs and the Rams. And it was funny. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together until I should have figured this out. This is the stuff that I usually am pretty good with, but I didn't even think about it until I was typing out the matchups that obviously with the 2 games here on Wednesday, you're not going to make these teams play Friday. They're going to play Saturday, right? Well, the 4 teams playing tonight, they're kind of just cross matching now on the weekend. And I hadn't really put that. I knew it because I knew that obviously we had the first place showdown, 2 of the 3 teams at the top playing. And then we had the border war, but I didn't really think about it. And hindsight's always 2020. Had I thought about it, I would have really kind of expected this to happen. So I'm not surprised in the least at what happened, right? Especially from the losing teams. Now, I'm kind of surprised at the margin a little bit, but you got to give some credit to the winning team and the more talented team in those instances. So let's break it down. Let's go in reverse order. At the back end, of course, I will look a little bit at the 2 games on Friday, which are very intriguing games. And so have to talk about those. But again, I'll show the stats for a minute. Not going to leave it up there for long at all. 73-50. It was close for a while, right? I mean, the Rams made some shots early. Not a lot. They took 33. So look at that. They take 48 field goals, and 30 of them are threes. So that's more than 60%. It's about 60%, I think, right? That's a pretty high number of your shots being threes, especially if you're going to make 8 out of 30. Now, we've seen the Aztecs do this to people before, and I said last night, it's funny, I said, well, the Aztecs force teams into shooting threes because of their length, their athleticism defensively. They seem to be more locked in defensively than they were earlier in the year. Good for them. Great thing moving forward, right? But that might play into CSU's hands because they just want to fire threes. The problem is there that I wasn't really considering is that they're still going to be contested because of the length defensively of San Diego State. And that's kind of what you saw tonight. Now, some were open, few were open, not many. They made a few of them, but 8 out of 30 is not going to get it done when you're shooting that many of them. They did sustain some offense with offensive rebounds. I think that was a problem for San Diego State. The numbers don't look horrible. They got 11 offensive rebounds. But again, they only took 48 shots. It was a pretty low possession game. It was a slow game. There was just, I don't want to say it wasn't played at a high level, but it wasn't up and down. Low possessions, that's how CSU likes to play. They've been playing that way this year. They took 48 shots. They missed 32, and they grabbed 11 of those offensive rebounds. So they're grabbing more than a third of their misses, right? That's an issue that the Aztecs have to clean up. I know Bemba's a physical guy in there, but I don't think that that's going to be something that Dutcher and the staff find acceptable, especially going into hostile territory against a better and more athletic team on Saturday. Utah State they still don't have the athleticism of San Diego State, but they have more athleticism than Colorado State. And if you're giving up 11 rebounds to this team, then you get where I'm going, right? 6 for 13 from deep for San Diego State. That's perfect, right? They shot over 50% from the field. Again, they only scored 73 because it was a low possession game. So if I go to the home stats here quickly, I know I don't have it. They scored 1.24 points per possession. I mean, that's fantastic, right? Only 59 possessions. That's a very low possession game. 59 possessions for each team. That's incredibly low, right? The turnovers again, and so Jacobson, who's very good on the call for FS1, pointed that out, that everybody watches film, but after watching the Rams struggle with Utah State's pressure, and I mean, some of it was Utah State's pressure, some of it was CSU just fumbling the ball and giving it up on Friday when they kind of melted down, that this was something the Aztecs want to do that anyway, and they certainly were going to feast on that after watching what happened Friday night. And there's just not enough solid guard play on that Ram team. He's Ali has changed the lineup a little bit, and my guy Jev, he hasn't been in the starting lineup. Now, he did play 28 minutes, and he played the second most minutes behind Jorgensen, who got 30, and He's not a speedy point guard. He's not a BJ Davis, a Tyler Rollison, a guy like that, right? He's a power guard, and he had one turnover. It was a live ball turnover for a dunk, but he also had 5 assists. And Ali's gone to Butler in the starting lineup. I'm not saying he's playing poorly. I don't know why that change was made, to be honest. I think CSU's play has dipped, and Jevon's play dipped a little bit too in that stretch, but so did everybody else. And you need a stabilizing force there to handle the ball. That might be something Ali wants to take a look at, because Jevon gets guys looks, and they might not make them all. It's not easy to do against good defense like they played tonight. But I don't know. They obviously they were playing above their level in the non-con. You kind of saw that early on in conference play here. They have the potential to beat teams. This was never going to be a good setup for them. They had that meltdown, as I just said earlier, on Friday when they should have won. Well, I wouldn't say should have won, but they played well enough for 36-ish minutes to win the game against Utah State, in a game they were really keyed up for. They had Bemba and Jorgensen back in the lineup, full bore, ready to go, crowd fired up, played great for most of the game, and then just gave it away. It's very deflating. And then you have the rivalry game. I know, as I said it last night about the UNLV Nevada game that I'll talk about in a little bit, that the players don't have the same feelings about the rivalries that they used to. None of these guys for CSU, I wouldn't say none of them, but they're Bemba and Jorgensen, that's it. The rest of these guys have no connection. Jevon, like I said, Jevon comes from the East Coast here by me in Pennsylvania. He played at Delaware State and FGCU. He's probably never been in Wyoming in his life, and will be in Wyoming. I don't even know where the game is. Whenever they play at Wyoming, whether it's Saturday, I can't remember if it's at CSU or not. That will be the only time he probably sets foot in Wyoming, right? And so is that a rivalry to him? And I'm just singling him out because I know him personally. But is that a rivalry to him? I don't know. I mean, for Ali, it is because he's been on the bench with Nico for a while. For Sundance, for sure it is because he's a Wyoming guy, right? Through and through. But for a lot of these players, I don't know. But my point being, it was just going to be a tough mental game tonight for CSU. You had to figure San Diego State would be, jacked, ready to go. Good effort Saturday at the Thomas and Mack. Good win, first place. Let's not have a letdown before we go play, in the Spectrum and keep our lead, right? And they did. They stayed the course. They shot over 50%. If we look at the numbers, and that was without Harrington. So hopefully for their sake, Harrington is back on Saturday. If Harrington's not back, I know they have some other guys, but look, we already have no Gwath. Now, if you take Harrington out, that's 2 guys that clearly, same as with Grand Canyon yesterday, when you start getting to 2 guys out, you can only go so deep with guys. I've been on the record. I'm not a big, look at Odin. I just don't think Odin gives you enough to be a champ for championship caliber teams. Okay. Now they may get away with it. They may, but they may not. Now Odin can play in this league for a mid-level team. Okay. What at 18 minutes tonight, 1 point, 0 for 3 from the field. He did have 3 rebounds, but he doesn't do enough. I just don't see it. Right. You have Davis, Bird, Waters, Heidi, Newman, Compton, Simmons, and DeGorville. That's 8. If there's no Harrington on Saturday. Okay. And we'll get more about that later, but I don't want to get into that matchup too much. But it was pretty balanced. Waters made a good amount of his shots. Compton was really good tonight. This was a game for him. He was far superior athletically than the big guys for CSU, right? Bird, have to laugh at Bird. Sometimes I wonder if Bird has a twin and they just rotate who plays on which days, because he'll look like an all-league guy and then he just is non-existent. Now his stat line doesn't look horrible tonight. He only had 1 turnover. He had 3 boards. 3 for 8 isn't awful. 10 points. He was just non-existent in the first half. I think he piled a lot of those stats on in the second half. I just praised him a week or so ago for maturing and not having missed a dunk. And then, of course, tonight he goes and misses a dunk. And I mean, look, guys miss dunks, but it's just like, I don't, I guess you learn to live with it, right? Because he does give you a lot, like defensively. That stuff never shows up in the stat sheets and it impacts the game. Okay. He's very long, he's very rangy, and he does little things that fans and people that like to critique him, myself included, I see it more than some, but I don't see everything. And most fans really don't at all. Okay. So he impacts the game a lot more than the box score, more than most players in the league do. But man, for a guy that's your preseason all conference guy, it's frustrating that that's what you get on. You don't know what you're going to get from Bird on a nightly basis. It's frustrating. Okay. It is. And if he shows up the way he played tonight, or, last week, whichever game he had the bagel, you can't win in the Spectrum doing that. You're already down Gwath, right? So that's an issue for me with them. But again, I'm just playing devil's advocate and nitpicking here because that's what I like to do at times. I'm not like, you have to do that, right? You don't get anywhere and get better by just coming on here and talking positives about the team because you won by 20. You look at where you can get better. Okay. You look at where you can get better, and that's on the glass and by getting some of your horses to be a little bit more consistent. Okay. Deborah is ready. Thank you, Deborah. Appreciate you being here. I figure we may not have a massive audience. The games, like I said, weren't overly dramatic tonight, but it was good to watch them tune up. Mile High Minute, a good Ram fan, says San Diego State go on 10 to 12-point runs. CSU. Yeah, well, the thing is that CSU's 5 to 6-point runs are basically like 2 threes or a bucket and a 3. And yeah, they live and die by it. And that's something that Ali will have to figure out in the offseason when he retools a portion of this roster as a few guys move on and decide if that's how they want to continue to play. And if it is, then, you got to get a facilitator. I'm not saying you expect to have a Neat Clifford or an Isaiah Stevens every year, but the backup point guard, McIver, and you could tell Ali really wants to give this guy some chances, man. Oh, and it's funny. I just scrolled down to see your comment. Feels like they're forcing minutes to McIver and not letting Booth get comfortable. Yeah, I like Booth too. And I don't like calling guys out. I do sometimes, but McIver has just not gotten it done. His plus minus, I heard from Steve tonight, who, will text me during CSU games, and I didn't even need Steve to tell me because I watched it. I couldn't believe how early Ali put McIver in the game. And to your point, he's trying to get him ready for next year, right? He wants to see, maybe it's a trial to see if he can get it done because he's a freshman and you don't expect him to be a stud. Kyan Evans struggled as a freshman for the Rams, and then he was very, very good. And now he's at UNC. So maybe Ali's just trying to see, let's get McIver these minutes, get the rust off, and then next year he'll be ready to go. I don't know if he can do it in this league or in the pack next year for the Rams. And so maybe Ali's trying to see if, do I need to get a point guard in the portal? Because McIver, man, minus 11 in like a 3-minute stretch there in the first half. I know it kind of, some of that was unfair because the Rams had built that 8-2 lead. The game was 4 minutes old and they had made a couple threes. And he knew the Aztecs were going to eventually, you had to figure they were going to eventually take control. But it coincided with McIver being in there, and he just can't do it against good teams. He can't. And so that's an issue. There's no doubt that's an issue. Yeah, you know what, Paul, the Aztecs were very strong. I wouldn't even really think that they're fouling. I guess if there's one other thing you want to critique other than their defensive rebounding at times was their fouling. I think that a little bit of that is lazy, going for steals. They're like sharks, right? They smell blood in the water. They want to get the highlights, strip, the pick at half court and the dunk. And you saw that, and Bird missed it. But they want to go for those. You foul a little bit. And yeah, when you're up by 20, you get a little bit lazy. You don't slide your feet a little bit. You want to reach, and it leads to a foul. So a little lazy. Yeah, Timothy, no doubt. On the men's side. Chase, Rams can't do anything right on either end of the floor. Careless passes, no floor awareness, fouling 3-point shooters. That drives me nuts. Like, especially right out of the locker room, first possession of the second half. Like, you should be mentally reset, right? You just had, used to be 15 minutes. Now it's like 18 to 20 to calm down, get your heart rate settled, hear the message from the coach. You're only down 6. It's a game, right? Game was not over at that point. 6-point game, and you foul Bird on a 3-point shot to start the half. And it's like, that stuff drives me nuts. I cannot stand that. I don't forget about it. Like last night with the GCU Nevada game, it should not. I've been on record with this on my pod for 3 years, tweeting about it for 4 years. Like, you should never, ever do that. You just shouldn't, right? That would be like, I don't want to say you're immediately on the bench, but man, there's got to be something for that. It's not winning basketball. You're absolutely right, Chase. It is not winning basketball. Good question here by Z Mountain Shadows, ZM maybe. How many teams have taken away the threes from CSU? At one time, they were the best three-point shooting team in the nation. Is it as simple as tougher on-ball defense? That's a big part of it. There's no doubt. That's a big part of it. The competition level has ramped up too. They're in the non-con, when they played Virginia Tech, they got kind of swarmed on in that game too. They couldn't get any free looks. That was their first loss, right? The Denver game will throw out. They didn't show up mentally to play that game. It wasn't really that. There are other games, even the Colorado game that I watched, that wasn't exactly like a defensive rock fight. Colorado's a decent team this year. They're not a defensive stalwart, right? And so it was at CSU. They had stretches where they were clamped down on, but then they made shots and shot the ball at an incredibly ridiculous rate to win that game. But in conference play, where these coaches, Dutcher, I know it's a new coach with Ali, but it's a very similar system to Nico, coached against him for what, 10 to 15 games the last 7-8 years. And so he knows what they're trying to do. And yeah, you're going to shut it down. Calhoun, only second year doing it, but yeah, he knows what they're going to do, right? Now, Bryce Drew knew, but they went down and beat Bryce Drew, right? Who have they played and lost? Alford's coached against this offense for years, right? They lose at home to Alford. So yeah, the coaches that know how to coach defense, okay, and Leon too. Forgot about Leon. Maybe I don't know if BJ 17 turnovers for CSU. Absolutely not good. CSU's offense looks both timid and reckless. Yeah, there's an element to both. There's no doubt about it. There's an element to both because I don't want to say they're lost out there, but to the point that I was just discussing, when your A go-to option is taken away, then you tend to panic a little bit, right? And you can't get those free looks that you got against some of the teams that you played in a non-con, unfortunately. It just is what it is. And so, yeah, it's going to be that way probably in the next 4 weeks too. And you don't have Neat Clifford like you had last year, unfortunately. Jorgensen's a nice player, and he had a heck of a non-con, and he had a very good half on Friday against Utah State, really in the first time back from his injury, but he's not a take the game over on every possession, give me the ball and let me do my thing kind of guy, right? And so I just, I think this is what they are for this year. And so Ali's got to figure out whether he wants to stay with this type of system. And if he does, he needs to try and get, increase the talent level a smidge, right, at every position, okay? Or you got to try something different then, because, yeah, when I don't want to say they're a one-trick pony, but when you're the nation's leading or one of the top 2 or 3 3-point shooting teams, and now all of a sudden you're not getting those looks anymore, what are you left with, right, for a team that's not stellar on the defensive end? Okay, I think they've improved a little bit there, but again, they gave up 1.24 points per possession tonight, gave up 73 in a low possession game. So some work to be done there. Look, I think we were fooling ourselves if we expected them to be a tournament team this year. I don't think anybody thought that. Maybe I and some others, we got suckered in the way they played in November, December. Again, the competition level wasn't superb. They had some good efforts and gave us some hope, and that can do that to you. But when you just kind of see, I'm not surprised by what's happening here. I hope they stabilize it. I want them to play good basketball. I said a week ago when they played Boise up there, I thought they would start trending up. I didn't like really what I saw tonight, but let's give some credit to the Aztecs for that. Matt brings up a great point. I thought about this too. He normally the Aztecs double in the paint, And they didn't do that as much tonight. Why? And I think they did it once early, and the Rams got a good look. And I don't remember if they knocked it down or not, but I said to myself, I wonder if we're going to see the doubles all night, because that's going to lead to open threes. Kick out, either open shot, or one pass, rotate, open shot. And a couple possessions later, dump it in, probably to Bemba, I don't remember, and no double. And I was like, well, that's obviously because Dutcher and the staff didn't want to leave the shooters. So good game plan. It's what, again, that's what, in theory, Ali and staff want you to do. They want you to collapse, okay? Not because, they don't trust Bemba with the ball, but when you do that, it opens up the perimeter for shooting. And the Aztecs didn't do that. You heard Jacobson actually comment on that in the second half as well, when there was a paint touch for Bemba. And they're kind of, we used to call it like digging, right? You would either dig or you would dog. If you're guarding the ball out front and your guy enters it to the post and you're dogging, you're going all out for a double, right? Or you just stay home because you don't want to leave the shooter. Or you kind of dig, which means you like half-ass go at them, jab at them to make them like think about it or freeze for a second, but you're close enough to your your man to be able to close out if he kicks it back out to him. And I think we saw a lot of that. It's easier to dig when you're 6'8" and athletic like San Diego State is. Let's be honest, right? Not everybody can do that as effectively. The Aztecs can, and that was certainly an issue today. Thank you that it is in Laramie on Saturday. Okay, I wasn't sure where it was, and then Fort Collins in 2 weeks. And I know that next year in football they have agreed to play early on, maybe even week 1 in the season, because they won't play in conference anymore. I think the same thing is with basketball, that they're going to play once, but, and there you go. Here's another one from Som Nam Woods. Okay. CSU's last scheduled trip to Laramie. Near certain they'll schedule knock. Yeah, so I wasn't sure if they had anything scheduled in hoops or not. I thought I read somewhere that they were going to keep it going, but I knew it was scheduled in football and not yet in hoops. Richard, 100%. I talked about DeGorville the other day. I was pretty down on him early on in the season. Remember, he had some body language issues, some stuff like on the bench and some issues there. And some coaches may have bagged him. Somebody said that to me on social media, that some guys would have just bagged him, especially with the amount of players that San Diego State has. And Dutcher didn't do that. And he's straightened it out. He's righted the ship. He's certainly gotten it together. And so credit to him for that, 100%. Okay. I want to get moving. I can't believe I'm already 28 minutes in. And I didn't even talk about the other game or Friday. I thought I would be about 45 minutes and out of here, but do appreciate you guys coming in with your comments here. What are your views on the top 3 when they have rivalry games? Do you feel it's the same as CSU Wyoming? Yeah, it's probably, I don't know. I would think that a rivalry in the old days, pre-NIL, CSU Wyoming was a little bit different. I do think New Mexico and San Diego State, for example, is a rivalry, and the players do get up for that. I don't think they consider it the rivalry like CSU and Wyoming does. Like, that's a different kind of rivalry, if that's, yeah, Mike, another missed Bird dunk. Bird is consistent on defense and inconsistent on offense. Absolutely correct, Paul, because he'll throw an air ball from 27 feet in there every game. It's like clockwork, right? It's as reliable as him getting a dunk or missing I'm sorry, not missing a dunk, getting a block or a steal on defense. There's no doubt about it. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, I agree, T-Mac. Even if Bird doesn't score a ton, he's impacts the game. Yeah. You want him to be more consistent. But, yeah, his defense is elite. I think, I discussed this before. I'm not a big metrics guy, but I'm sure his rating on defense is in the top handful in the league. I'd be stunned if it's not, right? Because he does a lot. He impacts the play a lot. Miguel, good thing the Aztec bench is deep, 100%. Yeah. Next Tuesday, Utah State travels to the Pit. There we go. Okay, another one. So a tough stretch here for Utah State. Yeah, T-Mac, you think that the Aztecs played sloppy, strong win, mental errors. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to play perfect, but yeah, Compton's been much better lately, 100%. I agree with that, and I like the way he's playing. So yeah, let's see. Okay, there you go. Look at that. A lot of you guys watching on the channel that you've subscribed to. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Appreciate that. Richard, there you go. Colorado's defense 143. And, look, it's a power conference school, right? But, 143 in KenPom is not a power conference number for a defense. Not at all. Okay. All right. I want to get to the other game because I have some thoughts that I really want to talk about. And that was even less of a game than this one was. 94-62 at the Spectrum. D. Glenn Smith, 94-62. This one mirrored the New Mexico's UNLV game of last night, with the exception of it was the home team winning tonight instead of the road team. I'll leave these on here for 30 seconds and then take them off. Just ugly numbers. I guess the thing to talk about here is that Sundance tried, and I had said last night, what is he going to do as far as pace, or what's Utah State going to do? How's Wyoming going to score enough? And I think Sundance decided his best avenue to a win here was to come out in a zone and shorten the game, right? Fewer possessions, you're the underdog, play zone, make them work for shots. Well, their zone was not very good. It looked like a 3-2. It looked like I don't know. It wasn't effective. They didn't cut off penetration lanes, which shouldn't happen against a zone. They didn't guard the corner, which is susceptible in a 3-2 because 3 up top, 2 bottom, play to block, right? If you're in a standard zone, which is a 2-3, your 3 on the bottom are spread out more, so you're not susceptible to the corner. Now, some coaches are fine giving up a corner 3 because it's a tough shot to make, right? But could have fooled me tonight because it was like a shooting gallery. Now, if I look back at the numbers, the Aggies 13 of 34, 38%. A lot of those were late when the benches got in, and Kearney took 3. So right there, and Barnes took 3. So if you take Kearney and Barnes, take those 6 off, then you're 13 for 28, which is a shade under 50%. Okay. And you'll take that every night, obviously. Right. And they shot 55% from the field. 13 turnovers for Wyoming, only 5 for Utah State. Look, there wasn't much resistance here. And this is one of those where it's like, look, Utah State played well. They were ready to go. They were efficient. Their assist numbers were Medved and Ali / CSU Ram 28 assists on 33 makes. That's absurd. Okay. That tells you a couple things. They were sharing the ball. They were unselfish. It also tells you that there's not a lot of resistance defensively, that the ball carriers or ball handlers, the penetrators, are able to go wherever they want and find open guys all over the floor. Okay. 28 assists on 33 makes. Look at that. Collins, 4 assists. Allen, 6 assists. Falslev, 5 assists. El Amin, 5 assists. Perryman, 4 assists. That's absurd, right? That's absurd. So 28 assists to only 5 turnovers. That doesn't happen if your opponent has a pulse defensively. So Spencer, I agree. I really don't know why he stuck with the zone. Somebody even sent that to me on Twitter. If you're a coach and you give up 50 in the first half playing zone, are you playing zone in a second half? Obviously not. At that point, when you're down 50-28, in all likelihood you're not winning the game. Unless he's going to play zone the rest of the year and you're working on it, you try something else, because you can't get beat for much worse than 50, right? What are you going to do? You score 55? I wouldn't have done that, right? And it's a shame. Wyoming did get a win on Saturday. Wasn't super convincing against a poor San Jose State team. Now tonight they lose by 30, and it was 40 at times. Just seems to be a little give in from the Cowboys, which is disappointing. They even got Meyer back tonight. He made a couple shots early. I don't know what he ended up with. He ended up with 12. He shot 5 for 10 and had 5 rebounds. So he played 29 minutes. He scored 12. Walker, I got to mention Walker. He played with heart. He was a stud today. 24 points on 8 for 16, shooting 4 for 6 from deep, and 5 rebounds for a 6'1" point guard in 32 minutes when you're getting blown out. Good for that young man, Leland Walker. Nice job. The rest of the guys, Rojas, 1 for 10 0 for 6 from 3. Some of these guys might want to give part of their NIL checks back. I don't know, because this was pretty poor from Wyoming. I'll be honest. I hate to say that. It was pretty poor. Like, that was, like I said, it was like UNLV. They would have had a great game. Tonight's Wyoming and last night's UNLV. Let's throw them on a neutral floor and let's see what happens, because that would be a hell of a 3-game set, right? Best out of 3. I mean, loser runs sprints for the next hour. I don't know, because that was pretty bad. Okay. Like, you like to see some compete. We're not saying you got to be in the game here at the under 4 with a chance to win and everybody's on the edge of their seat. But, like, let's compete a little bit more. Like, you're not the 2 teams at the bottom of the conference that don't really have a pulse at this point. All right. And if we're going to call out UNLV last night for what they put on the floor, you got to call out Wyoming tonight for it. I don't want to be picking and choosing here who I'm calling out. All right. We love Sundance. Had him on the show a few weeks ago. Hope to have him back after they get another big win somewhere along the lines. But again, this was a team that a month ago, people were saying, oh, they're going to beat somebody at home. They're going to give somebody games. And it's like, man, 3-7 is fine because the conference is tough. But last Tuesday, I think it was, beat by 20 at home against Boise. And now tonight, lose by 30. Like, not good. And so you'll really, really get a barometer of where they're at on Saturday. You're at home in a rivalry game. And as I said earlier, it's a game that means a lot to your head coach as a Wyoming guy. And as we also heard earlier, there's nothing scheduled. Now, they probably will schedule a game, but this is the last one scheduled in Laramie for the time being. You know that Sundance will be all over his guys about it. Okay. Now, how much it matters to them, we'll find out. But, this one's going to matter to Sundance. And if he can't get his guys to respond and come up with a game plan, and what do you say? Put your guys in a position to win. Like, it's going to be a long last 5 weeks for the Cowboys if they can't step up. Now, doesn't mean that they have to win on Saturday, right? I'm not saying if they lose, they're done, because they could play very well and the Rams could hit 17 threes and Pasquarelli hits a 3 with 12 seconds left and they win 83-82 and it's a great game. And then it's like, man, had Wyoming played that way lately to have a couple more wins, just fell on the wrong day. But you come out there with an effort like tonight or a couple of the other ones lately, and you're going to be thinking, oh boy, what are we doing here? So I'm interested to see what happens there, obviously. Okay, now back to Utah State quickly. I got to mention El Amin, because that guy, like, he doesn't, because of how good they are, and I don't know why, it's weird, because I was comparing him to Guath, not the same type of player, but I think that I am far from an NBA guy. You guys know that, right? Don't know anything about who's on what team. When I was 25, 30 years ago, I could name every coach, could probably name every, 95% of the starters in the NBA. I couldn't name 5. I could name 5 players. I couldn't name 5 coaches anymore. And I don't care. I don't care about it. But I'm sure we know Guath's going to be whatever. I'm going to tell you, and I could be way wrong, but I think El Amin will be a better pro than Guath. Okay. That man has a well-rounded skill set. First of all, he's from Paul VI. Now, that doesn't mean anything to you guys out there in the Mountain Time Zone. Paul VI is technically in Virginia, but it's around the D.C. area. Braden, imagine that. El Amin offensively and Guath defensively would be like Embiid and Durant, like times 2, 100%. Yeah. Okay. Well, not because Embiid, I don't think he plays D either. But anyway, Paul VI plays in the toughest conference in the country. We used to have their team up to our college. We'd run shootouts. They've had guys go to Duke, Kentucky, all over the place. The coach is a great guy. He basically has a national program, even though it's a regular Catholic school. It's not like a showcase academy like many are. He knows how to play. He's incredibly talented and athletic. He makes a move or two every game that I'm like, wow, he knows how to play. He's a smart guy out on the floor, incredibly skilled. He needs to put on a little muscle, clearly, right? He's overshadowed this year because he's got some studs on his team, right? But man, He is a hell of a player, is El Amin. And I really hope there were some comments from Calhoun. I don't know, maybe it was a week ago after the GCU loss, or maybe it was after the UNLV loss, about needing some NIL or some administratives, revenue sharing, I think it was, money from the administration, and kind of hinting to the new administration there that they didn't receive any from the prior administration and they need it for some help personnel-wise inside. And I think that will go a long way towards determining whether Calhoun is back in Logan next year or not, because we all look and see how Cincinnati and blah, 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 right? If the administration steps up and says, we'll give you this and we'll give you this, and he can keep guys like Falslev and El Amin and whoever, I don't even know who else has eligibility left. If he can keep these guys, it's a heck of a lot more likely that Calhoun's going to stay than go to Cincinnati, because he might get a, I don't know, 20, 30% salary bump from Cincinnati. But he's also, if you go to Cincinnati, you're probably, how many schools are in the Big 12, BJ, right now? 16, right? You're probably, I hate to say it, because there was a day when it was a great program. It's probably one of the 5 worst jobs in the Big 12. Like it is. All right. The Big 12 is a basketball conference. It's not a football conference. It's a basketball conference. You know, Cincinnati is a good basketball school. It doesn't match up with some of the other ones that are in the conference these days. It's not a top half job, and it might be a bottom 5 job in the conference. Now they'll pay more, but is he going to be able to compete? Okay. And if the administration here is going to give Calhoun what he wants to be able to keep these guys, you might see him back next year, even if he interviews at Cincinnati. All right. Just a thought. And that, you know, El Amin is a big piece in that. Yeah. So BJ says that Ken Palm has it interesting. Wyoming 73, CSU 72. I mean, yeah, that's going to be who shows up. You know, I'm sure the Vegas line will be right around to pick them. Maybe Wyoming is a small favorite because they're at home. It's hard to have a lot of faith in Wyoming lately based on what they've done. But I mean, CSU has not had a lot of wins to hang their hat on lately either. I agree, inches from greatness. Dutcher has him rounding into form. Compton's going to be a problem. So, you know, as I'm watching the first half, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because I'm in 40 minutes already. I want to get out of here in 10 minutes, and I got to talk about the 2 games Friday. And I'll obviously break this game down a lot on Friday night, all right, because it's really, I wouldn't say the only one worth talking about, but the game on Saturday. He's one of the few advantages I think they have. All right. I think the Aggies have more avenues to points. Clearly, they have the edge being at home. So I kind of look at this, and if I were an Aztec fan, Braden, whoever else is in here, Paul, I'd look at this as like a free roll, right? This is like, you know, you go check in at the hotel. They give you a few free spins for staying at the hotel. Go play those free spins, man. You win, cash it in and get out. It's like free money, okay? You want to go there and win the game, but you're going to be an underdog. And I don't say nobody's going to expect you to win, but most people are going to expect Utah State to win. You have to win the game when you're at home against Utah State. If you win on Saturday, that's freaking great for you guys, man. You got a hammer lock on the conference, okay? But this is like a game where, all right, and that's why I like playing on the road first in these matchups, because you can see how the matchups work, where you have an edge, where your opponent has an edge. What do we need to tweak for 3 weeks from now when we play again? And we'll get better and beat you that time. And, you know, that's great. I know nothing wrong with, you know, being a home team and getting the win first, because if you get the win first, well, then you get the free roll when you go on the road because you already beat them. And it's like, hey, let's just let it all hang out and go and play. We win. You know, we already beat them. But that's kind of, yeah, obviously a guy like Templin, Keller, certainly, who you guys, I'm not huge on Keller, but they're going to struggle to guard Compton. And so Utah State better jump out to like a 10-2 lead like CSU did tonight, because when he brings, I don't know about Harrington's status, but when he brings Compton and Davis or whoever comes in off the bench, it could be an issue. Dutch will have a good plan. He's coached big wins. Yeah, no doubt. Houston, Alabama, just in the last 3 years, to name a few. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I trust them. And yeah, they're playing their best basketball right now. You wish you had that Baylor game back. Certainly wish you had the Troy game back. I know a lot of the bracketologists, again, last four in, mostly first four out right now. But I do think that if they avoid bad losses, they finish 16-4. I think they'll be in good shape. Aggies need this one more than the Aztecs. I don't think Utah State can win in the pit, so this is a must-win. San Diego State has a bit more room for error. Yeah, I don't think they have a lot of room for error, but again, you being any of who you want to put yourself in the shoes of, New Mexico, Utah State, San Diego State, you have to win your home games against the other hammers here. You do. And if you're fortunate enough, to get a road win, you're sitting really pretty. But you have to win your home games. Give me 5 seconds to take a sip of water. I never do that on here. Sorry. Okay. Let's get to Friday. We got 2 games. I'm going to be quick and go over to Silver State rivalry that is at Lawler. What do we get from UNLV? What do we get? All right. Again, they were wretched last night. All right. I don't even know what other word I can use. I know Lobo fans want to say that it was all on them. Okay. It was not, in fact, all on you. You played very well. Your defense was great. Olin had a great game plan. Your guys were engaged and you played super. But you also played a team that couldn't walk and chew gum last night, right? And I mean, they were just disinterested. And the more I look back through the numbers in a box score and reading stuff today, it became clear. Like I saw comments on social media. Now, look, can you believe everything you see on there? I don't know. But people at the game and just watching the body language of the players, I don't know. They just were out of it, right? 16-4. 16-4 will win it. Certainly we'll get a share of it. I would think. Maybe I don't know. Somebody goes 17-3. It's gonna be tough, but the Magoon Commander is back. Thanks, appreciate it. Go Aztecs. I'm sure you enjoyed the game tonight because they look very good. So, like they just didn't show up. Okay, and are they going to show up now on Friday night? Because Nevada has to feel like they have second life. Because I'll tell you what. Okay. BJ pointed out last night, and I saw it today too, that the jump in KenPom is remarkable. And I know people are going to think I'm nuts, and they think BJ's nuts, and they think BJ's being a homer, right? But they're 5-5. I know it's a long shot to do. But again, I said this last night about somebody. CSU last year was in the same boat. And if I would have said they're not going to lose a game in the last month of the regular season, you would have said, what are you talking about, right? If Boise runs the table and finishes 15-5, that would include wins over everybody, right? They'd win at the pit. Difficult to do. I get it, but that's the position you put yourself in. That would include winning at home against the Aztecs. We know they can do that, right? That would include them winning at the Spectrum. Very difficult, okay? But again, that's the position you put yourself in. But if they would win out, they're going to get in a tournament. I'm telling you right now, okay? If they moved up from 81 to 54, I know they did it being efficient, but beating the teams that they did, imagine what they would jump from 54 to by winning at the pit and at the Spectrum. Imagine that. Now, I don't think they're going to do all that, okay? They may finish 13-7 and say, man, if we had just not whatever, but 15-5 would be I'm just saying, like, let's not kick the dirt over the grave yet, okay? But Nevada, this is why I went down that path. BJ says, Boise has the number 24 offense in the country per Bart Torvik during the last 2 weeks, okay? Number 22 overall during that stretch. So we're going to find out on Friday. This is it. And I said I was at the Nevada one first, but let me finish Nevada and I'll get back to Boise. Boise could run the table. Difficult. Yeah, UNLV just won in the Spectrum. Okay. So Nevada's got to feel like they have life because, again, they're 7-3. They could even drop a game or two and finish where Boise's target is at 15-5. They have an ugly loss to UC Davis, but their metrics aren't bad. I think if they lose another 2 games, they're not going to be in the mix. But if they finish 16-4 in the conference, tough because they have a tough schedule left, but they got to feel like they got life, okay, after escaping last night. That does wonders for you. You feel good about yourself and your team in practice, in the locker room, watching the film, laughing about it with your teammates, feeling good in shoot around, okay? And now you get your rival who's down, and you want to kick them while they're down, all for the noodles. Certainly want to kick some dirt over the Rebels while they're down, all right? Passner's first game in the rivalry. So I would be surprised if Nevada does not get this W. I'd be very surprised. Now, the big game in Phoenix, okay, Boise's been very efficient. And again, as I said last night after they won, we didn't really talk about the game much, but it shouldn't surprise anybody that has followed Boise and Leon Rice through his tenure, right? The guys didn't quit. They're playing good basketball, and they're going to find themselves in a very good spot tomorrow, because forget about the week and a half prior to last night, but any team that would suffer a loss the way it happened last night, I would automatically expect to lose their next game. Okay. Doesn't matter who as long as you're playing somebody that can beat you, right? You're a 30-point favorite, doesn't apply. But in a game that's close in terms of talent, I think it's going to be hard for you to be sharp. I wasn't there clearly, or don't have any insight into what happened there. I would be very surprised if GCU had a sharp practice today. I'd be stunned. They're without two veteran senior leaders in Moore and Shaw. There's no way those guys practice today. And after losing the way you lose, your other senior, Henley, missed 2 free throws. Your other senior and veteran guy there in Williams commits a foul. So all these veteran guys are in the mix here. How are you going to – I just – maybe Drew knew that and did some light shooting and whatever. I don't really know. But are they going to be able to feed off of a frenzied crowd who probably, let's just say this, they are a great atmosphere for college hoops. I don't know that they get what college hoops is in terms of like the competition level, all of it, right? Maybe some of them do, but to an extent, they're not like the Cameron Crazies. Like those guys get it. And at the Spectrum and other places, they get it. They know what's going on, right? They know who's good and who's supposed to be good and who's playing well and what you need to do, okay? I don't know that the Havocs do. They provide a great environment, which is enough, okay? And they cheer like crazy for their team, and they will on Friday. That's my point here. I don't think they're going to understand that, oh, man, we just really blew a chance to do this, right? They're going to show up and cheer their butts off Friday night regardless. They don't care, okay? But how does the team handle that? And I'd be worried about that if I was a Lope fan. I think Boise's walking into a good setup here. As BJ said last night, they traveled right down to Phoenix, so no travel issues. They were there last night or early this morning, technically, okay? So that's not going to be a problem. They are going to be comfortable there. They were not ready to play when these two teams played an extra mile 3 and a half, whatever it was, 3 weeks ago, probably three weeks ago to today, I think it was. Okay. And they made a run early in the second half, and then it just got away from them again. Now, I'm sure Leon figured things out on film to look at and hone in on to do from the start this time. I'm almost certain Boise will be engaged from the start. Now, they're still going to have to go out and execute. Just all those things I laid out isn't going to win the game for them. They're still going to have to go out and execute and see if they can get the job done, okay? But they will have every opportunity to do so, all right? Every opportunity to do so. Yeah, as BJ said, Boise got to Phoenix before GCU did last night, ironically enough, all right? Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Timothy. Like, I'm not saying I expect Boise to win. I'm just saying they have the opportunity to do so. Yeah, New Mexico shot horrible up there, but they'll have the opportunity. And that's all you can ask for. Your number one concern for this sky ship: Bronco bigs cannot keep getting bullied in the paint. The play on words there, can't lope around on defense. Yeah, I mean, Demerol's played better. They went to him early. He'd have played too many minutes. And so, look, if those guys are out tomorrow again, then Boise's just got to try to. You don't want to employ the same recipe tomorrow that Nevada did last night. But if you could just hang around for the stretch run when those guys are tired, then you're really in business, because we saw the minute breakdown last night. 44 for Henley and Stromer, 43 for Williams, and Demerol 37 minutes. He's not used to playing 37 minutes. For some reason, Drew didn't trust Evans as much last night. We'll see what he does tomorrow, Friday. But against Fielder, maybe he wants to use Evans. I don't know. But Demerol's going to be gassed after 32 or 33 minutes, let alone 37. Now, it did go overtime, but still. I don't know. Yeah, GCU has only lost like 3 of their last 50 home games. Now, keep in mind, a good portion of those were WAC games, okay, where they were large favorites or non-conference games. But it's all relative, so they deserve credit for that. There's no doubt about it, okay? There's no doubt. Like, they deserve props for that. It's not an easy place to go in. Remember, they beat San Diego State there 2 years ago with Jaden Ledee, the year after the Aztecs went to the Final Four. The Aztecs were a Sweet 16 team that year, and the Lopes beat them. I don't remember a player on that GCU team, and I don't know how good they were, although I don't know if that was a team that beat St. Mary's in the first round or not. I don't know. But point being, they've beaten San Diego State there. They've beaten good teams there. So, yeah, they're very good, and it's going to be a tough ask. I just think if you're ever going to go down there and play them, I think this is the time to do it if you're Boise. So, can they make shots? Can they execute? That's what the deal is going to be, okay? So we'll find out. That's actually the early game on Friday. So I didn't talk to BJ about it yet, but I'm sure he'll do his live show after the game. There'll be plenty of buffer in between while the second half of the Silver State rivalry is going on. I'll wait for BJ to be done, and then I'll go on to recap those two and preview a little bit of Saturday and talk about what's going on here in the week as we kind of move towards the midway point of the conference schedule. Okay, one last plug here for the old Sun Cruiser, all right? Give him a shout, give him a buy, give him a drink. On the bottom here, subscribe at Mountain West BNN, at Mountain West BNN. Appreciate all of you who do. Appreciate all of you coming in live, staying up, commenting. I'm sure most of you are ready to shut it down and go to bed after games, but I appreciate you coming in. For those that join the next morning and watch on replay, appreciate you as well. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Day off tomorrow. We can all use that. And then doubleheader Friday and a big day on Saturday. So thanks for being here. Yeah, I guess that's it. Enjoy the rest of your night. And we'll be back here on Friday on another night in the Mountain West. See ya.